Ladies and gentlemen, today is March 7th, 2013. And this is the KNKL Show Episode 73, Continued 2, where we learn to be better artists. I am your host, Kienan Lafferty, and today we are going to be jumping right back into the lovely painting that we were working on yesterday. Come to us, lovely painting. This is Kate. This is Emma's sister. And the last couple days we have been going through and painting Kate's face, who normally she is a comic book character, and we are painting her in a more realistic type of fashion to prove a point and to teach people. So today we're going to go ahead and jump right back into that. We're going to continue with some little details on the face as well as possibly move into the hair. I think that would be very, very nice. That would make me very happy. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to pick up right where we were yesterday, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Without further ado, no Facebook today, no Twitter. No Facebook, no Twitter today. So the first thing I want to do here is make sure that our colors are coming across properly. I'm just going to do a quick little brightness contrast thing to this, making sure that this is working properly. I think that's about right. And hue's looking good as well. Saturation. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty good. Maybe tone it down just a tad bit. Actually, I like it a little more saturated, especially for the exercise. So let's go ahead and continue with adding some more details, doing some more OP layer painting here. I'm going to go ahead and jump right back into that, making sure the microphone is on, because sometimes I accidentally start the show without the microphone on, and that is very embarrassing, to say the least. So, yeah, some of you are taking note of the sexy leopard print carpet. Yes, it is very nice. I did not choose it. The interior decorator who designed the room chose it, and I'm merely living here. Although, now that I have been subject to it for the past few months, I actually really like it. And I kind of find myself wanting to take it with me when I move. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to finish up the hair. I'm going to fix up the hair, make sure that everything is looking good and ready to go with that. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and kind of paint out like this old hair that I don't want. And I'm going to kind of take away a little bit of the lines on the edge. And again, usually this would be on another layer, so now I'm actually painting this out, which normally I would just be erasing if I would have set it up a little bit better, but I didn't. So we'll just have to do things the other way. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Cool. Get rid of these little furry lines on her shoulder. She ain't no furry. This is a real woman. A real woman. A real fake woman. Yeah. A real fake drawn woman. Alright. So let's go ahead and I kind of want to jump a little bit ahead. Like, well, as opposed to just working more on the face. I kind of want to go straight to the hair. I think that'll be fun. Let's do it. Let's do it. So the first thing you want to do is consider, when you're drawing hair, is always remember the hair starts from somewhere. Imagine that, right? So you want to make sure that it's not just like random bits sticking out, of the edge there, right? You got to make sure that, all of your hair is flowing from somewhere, right? In fact, you want to think about the crown, right? So if it's back here, right, this is the area where all the hair kind of grows out. You want to make sure that everything kind of follows that, right? You can do that fairly easily. You can do it like this. Again, just making sure that your flow lines all kind of reflect back to where you want the crown to be happening. Okay? And depending on how tight the hair is, sometimes you can get away a little bit more with like a line, like a more straight line. So I'll probably make the lines up here, up front, a little bit more kind of taut, kind of tight. You know, like it's kind of pulled back a little bit. So I'll make it a little bit more like this, right? And then as the hair comes back here, it'll kind of flow back like that. So that's looking pretty good. So it'll be a little bit more like that, making a nice little shape there. All right. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start adding some blonde into this. And since I didn't set this up exactly right, I'm going to have to kind of overpaint it. We're going to kind of just create locks of hair just by overpainting, right? Lovely locks. So we're going to start with this color, okay? And don't worry too much about your starting color because blonde, really blonde should be kind of like an orangey, kind of brownish, you know, kind of dirty blonde color to start with. And then you can start to work in the shines and the highlights and all that stuff. But just to start with, you'll actually want kind of like a dingy brown. And then you can breathe life into it. So let's go ahead and just kind of throw that on there. It's looking good. And you'll notice I'll show you guys how to breathe life into your hair. It's very awesome. Breathe life into your hair without Pantene Pro V. Reduce those split ends and revive your hair. So just painting that in. There we go. Seeing some promise already with this. Making me happy. So let's go ahead and throw in a little bit of these lines that we want to make sure that we're showing here, right? Because this is kind of stretched tightly against the forehead, right? So we want to make sure that this hair is coming out and kind of rounding with this forehead, okay? And as it goes back towards the crown. Okay, so I think that is more what we're looking for right there. That's the ticket. And then we'll simply draw the bow on top when we're done. But usually what I like to do is almost start the hair with like big chunks. Think of all the big chunks of hair that you're going to see. And then as you add the detail, you'll start to see the strands of hair come out. First, you want to just start with the flow. You guys are being silly over here in the chat. Imagine if my house was haunted. It is a big house. It is a big house. It could easily be haunted during the night. It is a big house that I am a tenant at. I don't own it. No, I don't own the house. Can't afford a house this big. Yet. Not yet. Soon, though. Soon. After my comic makes millions. And billions. Which, we'll see if that happens. We shall see. Alright. So you'll notice, look at the kind of the darker browns that I'm working with. Like, just select one of those. Eyedrop one of those. Look at that color. You know, normally if you're going to paint blonde hair, you'd be like, oh, yellow, right? You start throwing yellow in there, but that's not right. It's not how you create realistic blonde, right? Realistic blonde kind of dances between like this dingy brown, and then as it gets towards the highlights, it becomes very, very desaturated and yellow. I'll show you guys how to get that effect. As I have before, but I'll do it again. I like to mix in like some of these grays You know, especially when you have like a grayish background, I like to mix in grays kind of at the edges of it. I think it looks really, really nice when you mix in some gray with the hair. Not gray hairs, but just like grayish areas. Okay, so I'm liking this a lot. This is looking good. Let's go ahead and quickly throw in this little hair tie here. Actually, I don't think I've ever drawn Kate's hair tie. I don't know if I have. Because I can't remember if it's like one of these things or if it's like one of those like little, you know, those things like in the anime things. Although she's got the bow, so I probably don't want those things coming off. That'll probably just be a simple hair tie. And if it is, I don't know what color I made it. I don't know what color I made her hair tie. Because her bow's pink. Her bow is nice and cliche and pink. But her hair tie, I don't know what color that would be. Probably just make it kind of dark. It more serves the form of her hair as opposed to being like a big call out. Her call out is her bow. So I'll probably just play down the hair tie. Make it just kind of a dark general color. And let's make sure we're not losing the back of her head. That would be nice. Cutting into her ears a little bit. Just kind of cleaning them up. Cleaning them ears up. Clean out your ears. Nasty. No dirty ears, Kate. There we go. And yes, I don't know for those of you who know what the candle burning in the background means. That means today is an intimate day. It means we relax and we have fun, and I don't talk as much. Which I'm kind of liking as of late. I like doing relaxed dailies. I'd like to do one once a week. As long as you guys don't mind me being like up out of my seat, running around, dancing around like I usually do. You know, if you guys are okay with me just chilling, relaxing once a week, then I would really like that. Cool. Voila, you have ears. You have the ears. Shiny ears. Why not? Go ahead and throw in some little hairs there. There we go. Good. Okay, so continuing. Let's finish up our shapes, and then we'll move into start adding some depth and some highlights to this hair. So I want a shape here, and a little shape there, and we'll round it off right there. Good. 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 All right, now I want to make sure that we just throw in some general shapes here. We'll work more with this large piece of hair in a little bit. For now, I just want to kind of create a little bit of a flow kind of coming through here like this. Yeah. Shoo-be-doo-bap, shoo-be-doo-bap. I had that song that was playing before we started the show stuck in my head. Good stuff. All right, so that's good there. And again, pay attention to the little stylistic things that I do. Like I put that little thing in there, that little kink in the hair. You know, usually hair doesn't do that, but because it's more a realistic anime comic type thing, you can get away with it. And you are the artist. You are the god of your own universe. So you make up the rules. Right? That's the way I like it. You are the king of your castle. And you make the rules here. So embrace that. Embrace that and have fun with it. Throwing some of that nice yellow on the underside there really quickly. That's looking good. So guys, I'm starting to think that the biggest thing with like color theory is the balance. It's the balance between using saturated and desaturated colors. And then also, you know, like complements and all that stuff. But I think really the biggest thing that I think people have to learn about using colors is the subtleties. The subtleties between going from saturated to desaturated and what that will do for your form and what that will do for your piece. Because you can actually accomplish a lot, especially when you're working with faces and people. You can change someone's appearance so much, and you can change the character almost entirely by choosing different colors because it will affect the form, it will affect the face, and basically anything else that you're painting, right? So I think it's very, very important that you work with subtleties. And I guess it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. I don't want you to think it's like, oh, art's really, really complicated, you know, and I have to know all these subtleties to like be good and all that stuff. Because I don't think that, I mean, it can be that way. It's a dance with the subtleties, but also I think it's also a dance with what you know looks good, what you know looks right, and what you want to convey, right? So it's a dance between the subtleties and the dance between following your heart, for lack of a better term. But that's pretty much what it is, I'd say. Alright, so we've got our general shapes here, and I'm liking those a lot. Let's go ahead and flip this around, make sure this is looking good. Alright, so I'm liking that. So that's what we started with, guys, and this is where we are now. Okay, so we've got some nice hair on there. We've sculpted some nice hair, and we've got some good colors to work with. So now what we're going to do is, because we have this harsh light hitting here, you have to make sure that this hair looks like it's existing in the same universe, basically. So we're going to go ahead and bust out another layer. And oh, before we do that, I want to draw a quick sketch of this bow over top. Because I have a feeling as we paint the hair, we're probably just going to paint over this bow. So I don't want to lose it. So let's go ahead and keep it there. There we go. Okay, so bow's there for later. And let's go ahead and begin lighting this hair. Let me show you what blonde hair does when you add light to it. It's very, very cool what it does. Okay, so one of the first things that you're going to do is, as this color goes to the lightness, it's actually going to very, very heavily desaturate. Maybe slightly get brighter and saturated, but for the most part it's going to start approaching white. It's going to start going to white very, very, very quickly. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that we're on a separate layer before we do this. And let's just start let's take our soft brush, that way the computer will do the calculations for us. And let's start throwing in some of these colors here, right? And because we have a more yellowish light, I think we can actually saturate the blonde a little bit more. So let's go right around there. That looks good. And begin your saturation. Maturation and saturation. Okay, that looks good. I'm just going to put this here really quickly. It's not too important right now, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, continuing. Dang it, did I draw that bow like off the screen? No, whatever. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now let's go even further. Go even further and push it even more towards yellow. Okay? Now we're going to start getting into like a little bit of like the highlight, like the super slick highlight. So we almost want to, have you ever seen the way that light kind of goes across hair? It almost creates like a halo, right? So you want to think about like a halo that would be going through the hair like that, right? Think about that ring that occurs on the hair. So you kind of want to go down like this, and then the ring will be going through the hair like right around there, okay? And the reason why it does that is because of the nature of the hair. You want to think of hair as a ribbon as opposed to like the way you would shade a ball. You know, the way you shade a ball is like the highlight is there, and then it kind of like just goes towards the shadows, right? Like that, right? But hair is much more like a ribbon where it has this stream of light that goes through it. It's not just in anime, it actually happens in real life too. And it's very, very cool. So go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and kick that down just a little bit. And I think I want the ribbon to be just up a little bit more, like right around there. That'll be good. Yeah! Yeah! All right, peoples! Now we begin painting. I'm going to erase a little bit of this, that way we don't lose those shapes that were in there. I'm going to go ahead and just begin painting. And this is how you start bringing out that hair, right? Start bringing out those details by painting in basically your highlights. And what I like to do, rule of thumb, you know, on the edges of the hair, like wherever like an edge of that shape was, I like to put like a long highlight because it'll actually still suggest it even though it's going around the head, right? Like that. And then what I do is I kind of start grabbing the colors around it and I start kind of pushing those darker colors up into the highlights, right? And that's going to start to give you really, really nice illusion of hair, right? Just with that texture. See what that's doing right there? All these little things in there. Basically, you can go as detailed with that as you want, right? If you start going in like this, start throwing in little things, that's going to start to give you that illusion, that lovely illusion that we call hair. Okay? And then another thing that I like to do is as I'm painting, sometimes I'll just have like lines go through those old lines, right? Like I'll have like a line that just goes like right through that. I'll kind of throw in highlights every now and then, like in just random places, because it looks nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and just continue painting this up. Paint this up like that. Have a little bit of reflected light. Remember the reflected light that's coming from, you know, around the atmosphere? The hair is also going to pick that up, kind of down here. Okay? So you go from light, shadow, reflected light. And again, that might not even be 100% accurate, but it looks pretty good. So I'm trusting in my artist instincts. Trust in the force of the artist. Just checking your comments over here, making sure you're not saying anything like, your face is blocking the screen. Fix that. Fix your face. Cast shadow, right? You want to think about the cast shadow that's happening from the hair to the forehead, right? It should be fairly small because remember the hair is very, very tight against the forehead. Remember? Remember. So there you go. Kind of paint that out there. Kind of draw in some little like connecty points, you know, with the roots of the hair kind of happening here. A little bit of noise there. And again, let's continue our halo. Back around like that. And that looks good. Very good. Yes. Okay. Continuing. And again, the biggest thing I've noticed with blonde hair is there doesn't have to be a lot of contrast in it. Just pick some points where there will be some high contrast. Like, you know, like back in here. I would say add some nice darks in this area, right? Because also the bow is going to be there too, so we'll probably go back and revisit this part anyway. But like pick certain points where you'll have some nice darks. And then the rest of the hair should be very, very, you know, ribbon-like, very, very shiny, and you don't need that much contrast, so that was a good thing. Let's go ahead and just fill this in really quick. And then to make it look more natural, all I do is I just kind of go in with that highlight shape, and I just start kind of throwing in like random, you know, little flyaways here and there, you know, like this, right? And you just kind of throw them in wherever you want. And then the more you do that, the more it'll look a little bit more natural. A little more natural. You do it too much and it'll look like, you know, kind of scraggly, nasty hair. But oh, and the other thing is soften the edge of your hair by doing the same thing. You know, kind of throw these in. Try not to, if you're doing more realistic hair, try not to have it end, you know, with like a sharp line. Throw in, you know, a couple of those hairs kind of sticking out. Like that. See what I'm doing? That's it. And then the same way that you kind of draw those highlights through it, you can go back in and throw in also extra shadows, right? This is the other thing that adds more detail to your hair. Throwing extra shadows in, like that, right? And then you can kind of line the edges of those with more light. You just kind of continue with that until you're satisfied, you know, with what kind of look you're going for. But I'm pretty happy with that. I'm thinking that looks pretty good for now. Kind of a mix between cartoony, a mix between comic and realistic, which is very much what we're going for here. So, continuing, and again, that looks much better than what we started with, right? See what we've done? We've added that volume to it. It looks nice and round now. Looks like the same light that's affecting this is also affecting this, and that's exactly what we wanted. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back into the face for a little bit. Let's head on back to the face. Kate, get your face over here. Wait, hang on. Fixing this little cast shadow here. It looks a little strong. It is strong with this one. There we go. Cool. Good. Good. And we got the bow there for later. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to go back to this face. We're going to start throwing in a couple extra details, right? Softening a couple of these little things out that I don't want to see. Face OP2 is what we will call it. Alright. You guys are funny. You guys are thinking I'm talking about you. You sound like naggy old ladies. Your face is in the way. Move it. Well, maybe you do. Maybe you do sound like naggy old grandmas. Huh? Huh? So maybe we should stop. Maybe you should shut up. Just kidding. I'm feeling frisky. I'm feeling very frisky. Frisky today. Frisky yesterday. It's been a frisky week. That's for sure. All right, peoples. So another thing that I really like to do is as I start doing like final blends, because because it's really annoying to like come in here and like do this thing, go and like slowly blend, you know, until you can't see the lines anymore. So what I like to do when I'm in these final stages, I actually like to just grab the soft brush and I'll start to blend with the soft brush. Yay! And the only thing that you really need to watch out for when you're doing this is make sure that you don't interrupt the edges. Make sure you don't do this, right? Like if you blend like that and you zoom out, it's like, ugh. And then if you start blending, you know, all around, it's going to start to like make your drawing look cloudy, kind of nasty. So don't do that. Blend the inside as much as you want with the soft brush, but the edges need to retain their nice sharpness. Okay? So don't forget that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and blend this out. And again, what's really nice is working on a separate layer too. Say you do this, you're like, oh no, I went into the hair. You can just go back and erase that right back out. Okay? The power of layers. Don't forget it. Whoop. And then another fun thing to do, and this is kind of something that I've seen a lot of people do with like skin, is something you can do that's really cool. And I'm not very good at it, but let me see if I can actually do it with one of these brushes. Maybe the spatter brush will work. Basically, you put like little dots. Whoop. Put like little dots around the edges of wherever the highlights are. And what that's going to do is it's going to start to... In fact, let me make this on a separate layer too, because I don't know if this is going to work. I usually don't do this until like the very end, or ever. I don't think I've ever done this on this machine, so I don't have like the proper brush. But something that's really fun to do is you can kind of simulate a little bit of like skin texture by like the transition of the highlight to the skin. See what that does? Creates that really nice little like that texture of the skin. I love it. I love it when people do that. It looks absolutely beautiful. But usually I try to don't do it with the transition of like the shadow to like the local color, because it looks weird. Usually it looks best when you do it on just from like the highlight to the... Wait, where'd it go? Is it still there? No. Usually it's best when you just do it from the highlight to the local color. And yeah, what that is doing is it's simulating the speculars, kind of like the little speculars that are being picked up from the skin and reflecting back to you to see. And again, separate layers, so you can go back and kind of erase it where you don't want it. That's kind of a cool little trick you can do there. And it adds just that little bit of detail, but your eye picks that up. I hope you can see that from 720. In fact, I'll do it from here. Your eye picks that up and you're like, ooh, wow, it's so detailed. But really all you did was just add that little bit of that brush on the highlight to the local color, like the transition. And people will look at it and be like, oh, it's so detailed. The skin, even though it's just right there. Yeah. It's kind of like, I forget what principle that is, but there's a principle in like comic book making where if you want to draw a brick wall, you don't draw a wall and then every single little brick in there. You draw like 3 or 4 bricks kind of spaced out, and then the mind interprets that as, oh, that's a brick wall. You know, if it's like a background piece. It just saves you a lot of time, and it makes it look like, it gives the mind the same impression of realism, but you don't have to work that hard. And I like that. That's what you call working smart, and I love working smart. Working smart is one of my favorite things to do, because I don't like to work hard. I really don't. I like to work smart, so I don't have to work hard. All right. Cool. So adding a little bit of detail in there. Oh yeah, you can easily find skin texture brushes, but yeah, the one that I just used, I mean that works just fine. That's a spatter brush, and that's on my site if you want to use that. But I think the reason why maybe people have problems with skin brushes is because they try to blend the shadows. They try to blend the shadows like I just showed you. They'll be like, oh, okay, they got this awesome skin brush, and they'll start using it, and they'll do this, right? They'll try to like start blending and like drawing it in, and be like, that looks funny. That looks weird. Well, it's because skin doesn't react that way exactly. It only reacts that way with the highlights. Actually, putting those little spots on there, like, gave her like freckles. That's kind of cute. Oh, that's cool. I like that. It's kind of cute. Might just reduce the opacity of those. Oh wait, but that's on. I'm gonna do those on another layer. New layer called freckles. That way we can take them out later if we don't want them. I'm gonna go and just throw some in there like that, and then erase the ones that we don't want. It's like a nice little random brush there. And then I'll make them a little bit brighter, like red. A little bit brighter red. And let's erase some of those freckles in the eyeballs. We don't want freckles in the eyeballs. And I'll go ahead and reduce the opacity of that. And again, that can be like another, like, look at that. It's like really, really beautiful, like random freckling on the skin. I like that a lot. And again, all I'm using is just this spatter brush. Let me show you what it looks like. So it just looks like that, right? Just a nice little random spatter brush. So I actually kind of like that. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that in there. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. Let's go ahead and flip it really quick and pay attention to how far we have come. I always like to do this. Go back to your, when you open the piece, just kind of compare it. And you're like, oh, that's cool. Little changes that are adding more and more detail to our drawing. Very good, sir. Very good, sir. All right, so I'm going to go into the lips, add a little bit more detail to these lips. Maybe change up the hue a little bit. I want the hue to be just slightly more red. Slightly more. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the edges, like where the shadow goes in. I'm going to paint in a little bit more of this reddish texture. And did you see what just happened there? You see that subtlety? Let's go back. That to that. Notice how big of a change that was. Or no, notice the impact that that had. Might seem like not much, but it changed the whole lot. Put a little bit of reflected light on that underside of that lip. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, as Steve Irwin used to say. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Yeah, gorgeous. That was what it was. All right, now I'll push the upper side of the lip, or the lip part of the lip, a little bit more pink. Blend that there. And let's go in and let's add the speculars one more time. The lip speculars tend to kind of separate themselves a little bit, like this, right? Because of the like the little lines of your lip that go through, right? So be conscious of that. Create some nice luscious lips. Cool. Now I want to kind of focus on the chin a little bit more. I'm going to do a little bit more work on the chin. And you know, guys, what's really cool about this is that when you're drawing faces, like I said, you can find beauty in any face, but once you start getting to this point, it starts to become actually really, really fun where you're adding in those little details. It's like you're almost like you're creating a person, and it's like really, really fun. Like I really, really like it. The points where you get to just add in that little bit of like pink to the lips, and it makes a big difference. I think that's kind of like a, I don't know, that's kind of a big fun point for me when I'm drawing faces, drawing people. Like when I was doing the splashes for Riot, it was one of my favorite points when I would be doing a splash, was painting the character's face. I really, really enjoyed that. Now what the heck is happening here? Okay. Okay, this here. What is that? Oh, I'm painting on the freckles layer. Ha! My bad. That's why I was like, what's up with that? It's not fully painting. It is not fully painting, and I will kill it. Alright, so I'm going to do a little bit more action on this chin here. Notice what I'm doing here, right? Showing off a little bit more of that lip and the chin, right? The chin goes like this. And the lip, because it has like that little, there's like an area here underneath the lip and the chin. And if you capture that, it looks very, very nice. It's like that, yeah. Very good. Let's go ahead and shade in this here, this part of the chin. Whoop. Oops. Just a little bit more light there. Yeah, looks cool. I like it. And again, keep in mind that reflected light that's happening on the underside of the lip too, because you've got reflected light down here, so therefore you would have reflected light under that lip. Okay? Don't forget how important it is to be consistent with your lighting. Yeah. I like that. Let me flip it around and make sure that looks good. How are you looking, Kate? How's that? Yeah. Overall, I like it. I think I need to reduce this edge a little bit. I need to sculpt this back in just a tad. Just a tad bit. Soften that. There we go. Thank you. All right, Kate. What's up, baby? She's looking fine right about now. Looking fine, girl. Awesome. Awesome. I like it. All right, so let's go back into the nose a little bit. Speaking of that, what time we got? Oh, we're going to be going for another 10 minutes, and then we are going to be taking question catapults. Oh, geez. We're dropping a lot of frames. That is not good. Why? Why, Ustream? Why? Oh, you kill me. I'm getting really sick of this. I'm getting really sick of laggy stream. KNKL. KNKL lag stream. Whatever. Just gonna keep going. If anything, you guys can still see what I'm doing, even though it's choppy. I'm just gonna be like choppy up in this corner here, you know. But whatever. Better 1 frame a second than no frames a second, which means we're off the air. The humble beginnings of the KNKL live stream. we'll look back on this. Or we can look back now. Let's look back now and laugh. Alright, so one thing that I want to do here with the nose is I want to add a little bit more pigment to it. I want to add a little bit more redness to it. Especially in these like corners here, I want to soften like that harsh line that's going through it, and add a little bit more redness to it. I think that will look very, very nice. Okay. There we go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. A little bit of redness in there. Ooh, that looks nice. That looks very nice. Because, as I stated earlier, in your nose, ears, and other extremities of your body, they naturally have more blood vessels flowing to them, so they're going to appear a little bit more pink. Such as like in your ears, you're going to have a little bit more pink as well. You could grab this over here and kind of add a little bit more pink in these areas. And that'll naturally make your character just look more alive. Look more like a man. And I like that. I like it when characters look like they are alive and they have blood going through their veins. Softening the nose and making sure that it also doesn't look like it's flat. No flat noses allowed. Gotta make sure that there's a nice roundness to it. And another cool thing that I like to do to see if I can pull it off is like the way that the nose works is it kind of comes in just a tad bit like that, right? You see that little thing that I did there? Kind of push that up and make like a little itty bitty thing right there. That's basically where the cartilage is meeting the actual skull. And if you can pull it off right, I don't know if I'm going to do it right now, but if you can, it looks breathtakingly awesome. Oftentimes, just by the subtlest little thing you can do, you want to try to pull that off. I'm not really liking that. Is that better? I usually know when I get it, because it's like, that's it, got it good. And it can be really, really subtle, actually. Like, even that is fine. Even that is more than fine. But, yeah, I really like to... We're always interested in those little details. What are those little details that we pick up on in a human face that makes us know whether it's real or not? What are those little things? It's all about the little things. Cool. Let's go ahead and throw in a little bit more shading here. Whoa. What the heck happened there? Fixing that. Lovely! A little bit more reflected light under that nostril there. Good. I like that. So see what I did there? Basically, this is my technique in a nutshell. Basically, see all these hard lines in here? I went through and I softened those, but notice how I kept those edges. I kept the edges of the nose still sharp. Even with a line. Sometimes I like to just keep a line there. And oftentimes that can be attributed to, there's like a cast shadow falling there. You know, if you ever look at photos of people, the way that the cast shadow lays across the nose, there often is like a line right here, right? But it's the shadow that's being cast across the face behind it, right? So there would be an actual shape right there. And those are the things you want to look at. There's a reason why having a line there looks acceptable. There's a reason why having a shape there is acceptable. And that is because it would exist there in real life, sometimes. More or less. All right. Oh, hey, it looks like we stopped dropping frames. Yay! That makes me happy. Oh, so happy. I guess somebody was like downloading something in the other room. Maybe patching World of Warcraft or something. What are you guys saying over here? It's the part under the nose and the upper lip in the middle. Oh, you're talking about this part right here. Yes, that is a very challenging piece to draw. In fact, we could have a whole nother tutorial on something like that. I forget what this is called, but we can practice drawing that thingy. Today we're going to learn how to draw that thingy. Good, 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 very good. All right, peoples. I'm going to go ahead and open the floodgates right now. Please load up your questions and cast them over the castle walls. And I'll catch them, send them back to you on a bed of floaty grass or whatever I usually say. As you guys do that, I'm just going to continue painting, having fun, drawing this lovely lady over here. I'm also intrigued with like the edges of the face, like just these little, you know, just what's the difference between making the chin like that and making the chin like that, right? I just don't understand how that makes such a big difference, you know, but you can see it yourself. Like, look at that. Look at those two chins. They're completely different. And I'm always a big studier of those kinds of things. Love the subtleties on the edges of the body, the edges of the face. They basically make up, you know, the silhouette of it. I'm really, really big on that. Keen on studying that. What's the difference that makes the difference? Go ahead and paint these out. There we go. I'll have the light kind of catching a couple of the little blonde hairs in here. There we go. Kind of draw a couple of those roots of the eyebrow kind of touching there. You can have as much fun as you want with those little details, really. It's up to you. Most of the time, though, I like to keep it pretty simple. All right, peoples. You guys are saying, why is Poppy so ugly? Uni Pruny, always asking about the yordles. Why is Poppy so ugly? Give us an inside view of a writer on this abomination of a yordle. Oh, man. Oh, she's not ugly. She's just special. I don't know. I do like Katie DeSouza's version of her with the Battle Regalia. Battle Regalia Poppy is pretty sweet. It's kind of like that realistic anime style. Love it. Absolutely love it. But yeah, I agree. Like the sweet candy or the lollipop Poppy, that thing is very, very scary. And the scariest part is the face changes. Like between the when you pick her before the game and then the loading screen. The face changes in those two screens, so it's actually very, very scary. And it goes from bad to worse. But, yeah. I can't give too much information about, you know, any sort of redesigns or anything that were happening with the Yordles. But we basically, you know, before I took off from Riot, we were kind of examining, you know, what makes a good Yordle. Like, what are some good things? Where have Yordles been successful and where have they not? And also we were trying to figure out, you know, like, what's the deal with the female Yordles? Why are they blue and the guys are furry hamster people? You know, so I can't go any further than that, but yes. We were considering things to make sure that all of the Yordles were very, very cool and awesome to look at. Moving on. What scent is your candle? Says Duha. It is Autumn Rain from Yankee Candle. And it's almost out, so I'm very sad. I might have to go get another one. All right. Liquify. Oh, do I use the Liquify tool? Duda is asking. Occasionally. Like, okay, yeah. Let's go back to this really quick. If I do start to use Liquify, I usually like to save it for the very end, right? Because if you do it too early, it kind of like, I don't know. Like, how can I explain this? Like, say, if I would have set this up right, we probably would have had like a face like this, right? And then we can go into, you know, filter, liquify, and then we can start moving the body parts around. Which I do like. I really do enjoy a good liquify every now and then. Right? Because it's really nice. Common problem that I would do is sometimes I'd set the eyes off way too far. Like they'd be too far up or they're too high. And what the liquify tool allows you to do is just to kind of move stuff down. You know, it allows you to just kind of play around with some things and make sure, you know, that you got your things all set up properly. You know, and you can kind of, and again, look at all these subtleties, how they change the face, you know. So for making small changes, I would do it. But most of the time what I will do is I'll actually like select eyes. Like say if I was working with the eye, I'll actually just select the eye and then hit Control J, which duplicates it on top. And then I'll just move it very, very slightly like that. I find that a little easier to do, like moving it back and forth like that, as opposed to liquefying it. Because then all I have is, most of the time with the face I notice there's just like these little tiny edges that I need to blend in again, right? So, yeah, then I'll do it then. But as far as liquefy, I usually stay away from it. Not that it's bad, that's just my personal preference. All right. Going back, 2 more questions, and then we are ending episode 73, continued 2. 2 questions for part 2. Okay. Let's see. Anthony's taking notice of the Callahan shirt. Oh, yes. This is one of my favorite movies in the world, Tommy Boy. Ah, yes. Love it! Okay, Brian Hogan is asking, what's the weirdest or funniest thing that happened in Riot while you were there? Okay, let's see. What's something weird or funny that happened at Riot? That I did or somebody else did? Funny things are happening like almost every day. Like I worked with this guy named Mike Lego. He's one of the animators over there, and he is one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life. And he's really a nice guy too. But he's always just cracking jokes. Usually very not the kind of jokes you'd expect to be being cracked in like a professional environment. He kind of walks on the edge of like you know, being inappropriate. But that's just what he does, and he's really, really, really funny. And somehow he finds a way to get away with it. Okay, something funny. Speaking of that, okay, so I'll give you an example of something that he would say. Okay, so we are in like a business meeting, right? And we have this thing where a guy gives a presentation, and the presentation is basically called a deck, right? and it's like, you know, like swabbing the deck on a pirate ship. And I don't know exactly how to say it other than that. It's basically like a PowerPoint presentation, and the guy's giving a presentation, and it's called a deck, right? So Lego from the back of the crowd calls out, "Show us your deck!" And it freaking cracks me up, man. So bad. Lego, you're such a naughty man. Show us your deck. Come on. I love that. He'd be saying stuff like that all the time. And yeah, that's probably about all I can say on here without offending the younger viewers, the little kids. I must think about the innocence of the kids and the Girl Scouts that watch my show, if there are any. I would hate for them to go up and, like, you know, I'm going to buy cookies from them, and they're like, "You are that bad man. You said bad things, and you made me cry." I'm not going to have that happen. So, yes, show us your deck. And with that, people, I think we're going to call it good, because it looks like we are out of... The catapults have ceased. The armies have given up. The kingdom of the KNKL once again proves victorious. Oh, never mind. Looks like we got one more coming in from Duda. And this is a good question, so I'm actually going to take this last question. And he asks, are you going to ever visit conventions outside of California to showcase Emma? You better bet your sweet arse that I'm going to go outside of California. Because yes, I want to go to conventions. I want to travel around not only the US, but across the world. Far and wide. Australia one day. Ireland the next. Japan. Spain. Italy. All these places. And yes, if they have a comic convention or a place where I can promote my thing, or basically I'll just find a reason to just go there anyway, I will be promoting in any convention that I can. But right now, the biggest problem is, you know, just capital. You know, it costs a lot of money to set up a booth. I need people to help me. I need to get posters printed out. I need to have merchandise when I go to those things. So this is all in the works, and it will happen eventually. Don't worry. I'm not just putting it off for like someday. There are plans to get there, and I will get there eventually. So fear not. You guys may be seeing me at a convention near you in the near future. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's show. Thank you once again for tuning in. People on YouTube, thumbs up if you like it. Thumbs down if you don't. My name is Kienan Lafferty. You guys take care. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you all on Monday.